It is a privilege and a pleasure to be here, even as it is quite a complex moment that we're all in. And let's go to the first slide. That's not actually the first slide, but there it is. This particular image to me, it captures how I feel at this moment. This was during Hurricane Sandy when the storm surge came and covered this dilapidated roller coaster, and there's this helicopter off to the side. And it just, to me, is evocative of a mix of emotions that probably everyone in this room has inside your soul right now. And I think it's a mix because you're all paying attention. You know the challenges we face, but you're also still here in this room, which means you haven't given up. And so I think we just face a question of how do we navigate that mix in ourselves and turn that into motive force to create impact. And I want to talk about a difference between two words as an initial frame, and then I'm going to talk a bit about abundance. The two words are polycrisis and metacrisis. They each have cool Greek prefixes. And the polycrisis, most of you probably know this word, is this intersecting mix of crises that we're facing all at once. Climate change, pandemics, poverty, the rise of authoritarianism, etc. The metacrisis is how do we relate to the polycrisis? What are the frameworks, what are the stories, what are the ways of perceiving that we use to try and make sense of all this crazy stuff that's happening? And I think we spend so much time focused on the polycrisis, the crises themselves, that we often forget to take a breath and think about how are we relating to these challenges? What are the frameworks that we use? And so to start, let's just think about the resources that humanity is devoting to making the world better. So we are looking at trillions of dollars that people give away each year to make the world better. Tens of millions of people who are employed full-time to make the world better. 13 million people employed by nonprofits in the US alone. Approximately 10 million nonprofit organizations around the world, about 10 million social enterprises, trillions of dollars invested with an eye to social impact. And let's just pause and think about that. The human species has figured out how to devote immense resources into making the world better. And it's so easy for us to forget to celebrate this world historic accomplishment, this apparatus of good that we've built up over the course of centuries to try and do right by our fellow humans. And this is a kind of abundance that I think it's really important that we not forget that we're starting with. The question then is, what do we do with this kind of triumph, with this store of hope? And I want to just suggest very briefly two different sort of filters that we use to take these resources to make good. So the first one is types of strategies. Now, this was my book, The Toolbox, 9 strategies for crafting social impact, ranging from behavioral economics to community organizing, game theory, markets, institutions, et cetera. And that this apparatus of good has developed a whole range of ways of thinking about how do we take resources and turn it into impact. And that this is an extraordinary asset that we're able to draw from. So that's strategy. So that is the logic we use for allocating our resources to achieve good. So that's one. Now, the next one is structures. And that we, I think, as a field, have gotten caught in this trap, which is to believe that the unit of analysis of social impact is the independent, isolated, permanent 501c3 nonprofit. Right? That's so often how we think about resources being turned into change through that particular mechanism. And what I have here is just a set of examples of other ways of thinking about structure. We have here mergers, we've got acquisitions, we've got sunsets, where an organization chooses to shut down. We've got acquisitions of for-profits by nonprofits. We've got roll-ups, where multiple organizations come together, both in the nonprofit and the for-profit sector. We've got examples of nonprofits becoming for-profits, examples of for-profits becoming nonprofits, new types of fiscal sponsorship. Let's see here. New models of IP, clusters of organizations, clusters of funders. The amount of options that we have for how to arrange our resources is truly extraordinary. And so what I want to challenge all of us to do is to step back and think, in this crazy moment, can we rewire our minds just a bit and imagine new ways of allocating our resources and tap into this sense that we have so many different options? Because I think that's the only way that we can shift our mindset to really address the polycrisis. Because otherwise, if we stay stuck in the old models of strategy, the old models of structure, it's not going to be enough.